Welcome back to another episode of Gritty Iron Game, Week 9 recap. Week by week, my co-host here has dwindled in the purple in his uniform, resulting in an all-black uniform last week. But as you guys see today, if you're watching the visual, he's decked out in purple gear. He's decked out in Vikings gear. Why don't you tell the people about what you saw today?
Bro, it was a fucking crazy day for the Vikings fans because, look, the first drive for the Vikings, or maybe it was the second, either way, Jaron Hall comes out. He goes 5 for 6, about 78 yards. Looks phenomenal. Gets us down in the red zone. Then he takes off and runs to the 1 yard line, and he gets just fucking demolished. Goes out with a concussion. But yeah, and when I look at the replay, like it's clear, like regardless if it was going to be 4th down or not, the dude he should have slid because he was putting himself in jeopardy, not sliding. So that's a rookie mistake, obviously, but that drive he had it gave us a lot of hope for what he was doing. I mean, you look at I think it was the first or second play he had on that drive, and it was a play action rollout left, and he gets it out quick to the tight end, Munt, and that was a vet move. Just how quick he was able to get it out, see that play develop, and for me personally, no matter what, we're gonna keep talking about this game right now, but I want to keep seeing Jaron Hall as a starter going forward because I think there's a lot of good things to come from him, but the fact that Dobbs was able to come into this game after that injury to Jaron Hall, the first couple of drives looked fucking atrocious, very rough. And I was texting you at that point. I'm like, man, this is I'm turning this off. I can't keep watching this. I'm not subjecting myself to this. But the man, because to me, the point he came into the game, that was damn near the whole. He played damn near the whole game. But I think because of him coming in on Tuesday this past week, being traded from the Cardinals, this dude was literally running a preseason type of offense the whole game because he didn't have enough time to get enough of the playbook to really do much. So it's very dumbed down. And the fact that we're able to come out of this game with a W 31-28 against the Falcons on the road, that says a lot because, I mean, that's the most points we scored all season. I mean, that is crazy to me. Like, this game, to me, in my eyes, going into it and what I was seeing early in the first half, I'm like, this is gonna be like a fucking 16-13 type game at most, bro. But the fact that it's 31-20, I mean, 31-28, that's crazy. Because, and I was saying all game long, like, B-Flow and his defense gets a lot of credit because they kept us in this game the whole time. I mean, you don't want to give up 28 points to this Falcons offense, especially with Taylor Heineke or Desmond Ridder. I mean, it's this Falcons offense is pretty putrid, bro. Especially without Drake London. I mean, they don't know what to do with Bijan. They don't know what to do with Kyle Pitts. Arthur Smith is a joke of a head coach. I think the Falcons should be ashamed of losing the way they did today. It's pretty pathetic on their part. So that, I mean, I'm not going to go into X's and O's and all this deep dive stuff with this game, but all I can say is, like, the Vikings, we don't get many wins like this, especially being with our 4th string quarterback. So, I mean, I'm going to take it while we can get it. It was a great W. I wasn't holding out a lot of hope for this game. I wasn't really cheering even a whole lot during this game. I was just kind of sitting back, letting the chips fall where they may, and it was just one of those games where it was just like, holy shit, like, this is actually going our way when we got a fucking third, fourth string quarterback. We trade for this. Look, I think, and like I said to you before in text during the game, if we have Kirk Cousins, if we have JJ, if we're fully healthy, this game's not even fucking close. We blow this Falcons team out probably 31-10, around that type of score. They have no business being in a game with us if we're fully healthy. So the fact that we have a third, fourth string quarterback coming in, Josh Dobbs, he did an admirable job for Arizona for the first 6-7 weeks being their starter. He's a journeyman, obviously. But look, it's I firmly believe after this type of win, I think it gives us a lot of confidence in this team going forward. That I do think that the Vikings are capable of pulling off that 7th seed, making the playoffs. But realistically, we'll probably be a one and done team in the playoffs, which is okay with me for this year because I think we're going to re-sign Kirk. I think we're going to have, it's going to be interesting offseason because we got a lot of, revamping to do. But if we can draft a quarterback at some point in the late part of the first round, maybe the second round, sit behind Kirk next year, because I think we're going to re-sign him. So the best bet is like a JJ McCarthy type quarterback from Michigan. If you're able to get him, sit him behind Kirk for a year or two,
Is
that's
Dobbs
the
under
best.
contract for next
Say
year?
say what?
Is Dobbs under contract for next year?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know Dobbs' contract situation. Obviously you got Jaron Hall going forward because we drafted him in the 5th round. He's under rookie contract, so he's
Right.
we got at least 3 years probably here. So, but what I seen out of Jaron Hall today in that one drive he had, shit, give me more of that because I firmly believe this dude is a capable backup. But what you seen out of Dobbs today, coming in on short notice like that, this dude is so capable of doing terrific things as a backup. It's better than a Nick Mullins. It's better than a fucking Sean Mannion. I mean, goddamn. The fact that the Vikings had a mobile quarterback today both times is terrific because we don't ever see that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, having that, even with Kirk, I think late in that fourth quarter drive when we're trying to come back and win, when Dobbs took off on, I think it was like 4th and 7 or 4th and 8 when we were going for it, and he took off and he got that 15-yard run. Kirk doesn't do that. He just doesn't, bro. It's either a throwaway or it's an incomplete pass or it's a completion for a first down. The fact that we have a quarterback on the roster that can run and make plays like just unscripted, most teams want that because this day in the NFL, it's like the way the defenses are set up and everything and the pressures and everything. I mean, I don't know. It's just you don't want a statue back there. And a lot of times that's what we complain about with Kirk is he's just a statue back there, especially when there's pressure coming. And so the fact that we had Jaron Hall and we had Dobbs today that were able to make plays off top, just, running, taking off and running, that's a good sign. I mean, we're not used to that as Vikings fans, and so the fact that we have that ability behind him now, that's terrific because I feel like when you're starting quarterback, especially like a Kirk Cousins goes down, you need, mobility behind him as a quarterback because when the backups don't see open receivers within the first couple seconds, it's bad fucking news.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can't run, we are fucking screwed. And the first couple of drives with Dobbs in there, I was like, oh shit, this is going to be Josh Freeman 2.0. That's what it was looking like. Like it was looking rough. But, that's credit to Dobbs. I think he's a very smart quarterback. I think, whether he's a journeyman or not, which he is, the dude is very smart. I mean, to not even have JJ in there Yeah, he utilized TJ very nicely today, but then KJ goes down to a concussion. I mean, you're working with Tristan Jackson, you're working with Brandon Powell. Your number one receiver is TJ Hawkinson, which even with the starting quarterback, that's rough going. So, I mean, I don't know. Look, end of the day, I'm going to take this win because it's just like even if it's against the fucking Falcons, to start the game the way it was going, I'm like, this is not looking good, and I'm not expecting much. But to come out with a W, I don't know. It's a breath of fresh air because I'm not used to having backup quarterbacks or backup playmakers that can get the job done in certain games like this. Because, like I said to you in a text earlier, I was like, this is going to get ugly quick, and that's what it felt like, especially after that safety we took early in the game. I'm like, man, this is bad. We couldn't run the ball, especially if we're not running the ball well. Like, and then it, if you can't establish a run game with backups, it's just tough sledding. So, I mean, the fact that we got it done, I think this should scare the teams that are around us in our abilities right now, or are on the back end trying to get into the playoffs, like the Falcons, the Bucks, like teams fighting for that 7-6 spot. They should fear our team right now, because I think this just gives our team so much more confidence going forward to be able to come away with a 9-8, maybe even I'm 10-7 is pushing it, but a 9-8, 8-9 record to get into the playoffs. I think we're looking like we could be that type of team. And if we sneak in with the 7th seed, look, I'll take that any day of the week. If we lose the first round, so be it. But if we can even get into the playoffs as a 7th seed, the way our team's set up right now, without Kirk, without JJ, who knows when he's coming back? Look, that just bodes well for the future, and I think it gives our team that much confidence, the coach staff that much more confidence. And look, the way the season's been going, especially on the defensive side, B-Flow has shown he deserves to be a head coach. Point blank, period.
You pretty much covered it all. As far as that playoff race goes, beating Atlanta, you two are probably going to end up being in that 5, 6, 7 spot. So that was a huge win when it comes down to week 16, 17, as far as tiebreakers go, if you have the same record. If Seattle looks like they did today, if San Francisco looks like they have looked as of late, maybe we're talking about a 6 seed for the Vikings with that schedule you have. So, I mean, I know it's a far-fetched idea, and with the quarterback situation, probably not realistic, but you never know, man. Football's a crazy game, and you guys
It
look
is,
really good.
bro.
Like you said, you put up your most points of the game this season with a third-string quarterback and a guy that got there 5 days ago. So, I mean, can't say much about KLC in that offense this week.
Nah. It's a crazy thing. I'm not used to being in a situation like this, especially with backups. It is a crazy situation to be in when you look at the Vikings history, and especially with like your starting quarterback going down. We never have backup, and go like you said. Why do you go into the game with with only two quarterbacks? Like, and we got Cam Akers being our backup, and he ends up tearing his Achilles. So what happens? What happens if he's already torn his Achilles, and then you get another concussion to fucking Josh Dobbs? What do we do now? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got to forfeit the game at that point. So
There's
it's just
no,
crazy. It is crazy to think about the Vikings being in a situation where they can actually pull off a game like this with backups. So but to me, at the end of the day, shame on the Falcons, bro. I think Arthur Smith this is a fireable offense, this type of game for Arthur Smith.
yeah, wasn't a good day for the Birds in the NFC. Speaking of those Birds in the NFC, Seattle was on the road at Baltimore, 3-37. Early third down bobble on the opening drive really set the tone for the Seattle offense. Their first 5 drives, 4 punts, 1 interception. They had 101 yards going into halftime. 50 of those, or going into the fourth quarter, 50 of those came on a first down. 50 of those came on a big play at the end of the first half by DK Metcalf, setting up their only points of the game. Baltimore defense, they're on pace to do some historic things. It's not the 2000s Ravens defense like everybody likes to talk about, but this is a very good defensive unit. They lead the NFL in sacks, pass yards per attempt, and pass touchdowns allowed. They're second in rush touchdowns allowed and fifth in passing yards allowed. I think a lot of that starts with the defensive line. Matabike, Owe, Pierce, Clowney, Van Noy. Those guys are really putting pressure on the quarterback. They're not allowing running backs to get out of the backfield and break loose. Another part of that is Queen and Roquan. It's not Suggs and Ray. Queen is a very good Robin to Roquan's Batman. Roquan, since the addition since we picked him up last year, been one of the best moves in the NFL. We've had one of the best units in the league defensively since then. He's a great leader. He gets the guys in the right position. He doesn't miss tackles. He's accountable. I couldn't be happier with that move. Humphrey, a Pro Bowl DB, still rounding into shape after coming into the season, not playing. I think he's going to get right to where he used to be in a couple of weeks here. This defense is just really rounding into shape and really looking like the best unit in the league right now. Geno Stone leads the league in interceptions right now. Kyle Hamilton, hybrid safety, plays in the box, drops in coverage, does it all. Tackles for loss, sacks, interceptions, you name it. So my only concern with this game, the fumbles, obviously. I said that was going to be a problem coming into the game, or a concern coming into the game for me. And Ronnie Stanley, the left tackle, I thought he got beat a couple times. One fumble by Lamar. You could say it wasn't his fault because the left tackle got beat so fast, but it is something that we have to, be conscious of, taking care of the ball, even in a big blowout like this. But 37-3, excuse me. I know you probably didn't have your eyes on this one with the Vikings game going on, but how you feel about the Ravens after this?
I'm just gonna say it right now. I think if it's not the Bengals at this point, I got the Ravens being in the Super Bowl this year, representing the AFC. So you got big shoes to fill at this point because I got big expectations for this team. I mean, look, you put a beat down 37-3 on the Seahawks. You already got a 38-3 or whatever it was, or whatever that score was against the Lions, which was just a beat down and a half. So I mean, they are doing what they need to do, and it's a scary thing because there's not many teams in the league, if at all, that are coming away with these type of scores at this point.
No, I know.
So the fact that they're doing this to me is the Ravens putting the league on notice, because I think the Ravens are this type of team this year I'd like to see a little more out of the offense, consistently. But the fact that the defense is doing what they're doing and holding these teams, especially the better NFC teams, to these type of scores, man, they just at this point they just got to do it against the good AFC teams, because the AFC is obviously the better conference at this point. So
No question.
you gotta just keep doing it against the divisional rivals at this point, the rest of the season, and patting the win record, patting the wins on to this record, because being 7-2 at this point, 3-1 at home. Look, I do the Ravens, like I said, Cincinnati coming on as strong as they are now with Burrow getting healthy and everything, being up 21-7 against the Bills right now, as we speak. I'm not too high on the Chiefs this season. I've been saying that, even though they did their thing against the Dolphins, and we'll get to that. But I do think it's either between the Ravens or the Bengals at this point to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl.
Right now, Bengals are rounding into shape as well. Ravens are becoming more healthy. We know that's been the Achilles heel of this team as of late over the past few years. We had some new weapons today. Even though we lost two fumbles, we still put up the points we did, which I thought was very impressive. Keaton Mitchell had his coming out party at running back. Mark Andrews, made his big catches, his clutch catches that we needed. Offense is rounding into shape. I think if we can be consistent on both sides of the ball like this, we're going to be a real problem going forward.
I agree. I mean, I'm scared for teams going against the Ravens, because I think that they're so, especially with Lamar at quarterback, he's so multi-dimensional with running the ball, passing the ball. It's just, you just wish he had more weapons on the offensive side to help him out besides Mark Andrews, because he even though you added to that receiving core, I mean, Zay Flowers is obviously his number one guy on the outside, which you'd like. He's a smaller guy, like kind of like Jordan Addison being a rookie. around the 5'10", 180 range. You want a couple bigger guys on the outside to complement that besides Mark Andrews as a tight end. And I think if he was able to, if he had the Vikings receiving core at this point, I think the Ravens are a serious, serious problem. But they're proving they are, even no matter what. But that's a great thing, because if you can get, even though they're not as what's the word I'm looking for? They're not as fearsome on offense as you'd like them to be. That defense is a serious, serious problem. And like I said, we both agree, defense wins games. It starts in the trenches, but defense wins games. So and defense wins championships. So the way the Ravens are set up right now, you can look to 2012, 2013, and then back to 2001, Ray Lewis years. Look, they can get it done this year. I firmly believe that. They just got to keep their foot to the, pedal to the metal, and not be dumb about it, because they are set up to be a championship team. They just can't let shit get in their way, because obviously injuries is one thing, you can't control that, but the way the team is set up and the way the coach is set up with John Harbaugh, man, I'll take John Harbaugh. He's a Super Bowl winning coach, obviously. Lamar, he's an MVP. But the Ravens have always established the defense to win championships, and I really firmly believe that they're set up to do it again this year. If not win it all, they're at least going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl at this point, in my opinion, because I don't see much from the AFC. Whether it's the Bengals, whether it's the Chiefs, whether it's the Bills, the Dolphins, to me right now, the Ravens are the all around complete team, and they're showing it by the score of these games that they're winning. So I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where football is a funny game. Anything could happen any given Sunday, but I really believe in this Ravens team, and I've been saying that. I said it before the season started. Even though Lamar is not proving to be like oh my God, he just got paid and he's putting up this career year, he's still leading this team to be that number one AFC team. So look, I truly believe in this Ravens team, and I think they can get it done. It's a long season left ahead of us, but hey, they'll get it done. I think they will. I mean, I've seen enough of the Ravens throughout the years to know, like, if I'm seeing this shit, I gotta believe it. So
Health is a question. We've been number one seed deep into the past 2 seasons till our quarterback goes down and we sustain major injuries to the roster. So that's the question. Organization's great. Roster's great. Coaching staff is great. We just got to put it together. Hopefully we stay healthy and do it this year. What I like about this team is we can win in a multitude of ways. We see some teams like Miami, who we'll talk about later, who only seem to win against bad teams and blowing them out. They don't win close games. If they're down, it's tough for them to get back into the game. Baltimore put up 37
right,
points today. Lamar didn't throw or run a touchdown, I believe. So if that's going to be the case, this team's going to be very dangerous going forward.
right.
Speaking of this Miami team, we'll talk about them right now. They were on the road at Kansas City, overseas. We'll pick it up where Kansas City was up 14-0. Tua to Tyreek has typically been the best combination this year. In this instance, it resulted in a turnover. Kansas City picks up a fumble, lateral that ball, return it for a touchdown. They go up 21-0 right before the half. Really didn't do anything in the second half, but they didn't need to because this defense is for real. They end up winning this game 21-14. I know you said you're out of Miami, but how do you feel about this Kansas City team?
I think the Kansas City defense is the true star factor of it all. I think the offense has a lot of issues to work out. I think Jerick McKinnon's a nice piece. Obviously, you got Kelsey, you got Mahomes, but the wide receiver core is a big question. Even though you brought over, goddamn, what's his name again from the Jets? He had him last year. went to the Jets,
Nico.
came back. McCole Hardman. I mean, I said he was, gonna boost that receiving core, which I think he does, but he's still not enough of that big time factor to truly make a difference week to week. You gotta kind of game plan around him if you want him to be a factor. So, but as long as you got Mahomes, you got Kelsey, you're gonna be a problem. So, but the big thing about it is the the Chiefs defense is truly taking a big step forward this year. And it's been, to me, it's been a quiet thing, even because week to week, I'm like, well, the Chiefs, this and that. The Chiefs are just, the offense is just not putting up the points you want them to put up with how good that defense has been.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my big issue. And I think at this point, while it's record wise, they're probably the team to beat in the AFC, but and especially the fact that they've got two Super Bowls under their belt with Mahomes, so they're the team to beat. But I still think they're the most beatable they've been in the past few years since they've had Mahomes. So if I, I'm not too worried about the Chiefs, especially if I'm the Ravens. I think the Ravens their defense. I think they can be a defense that can handle the Chiefs offense, no question this year, but they got to go out and prove that, obviously. So I don't know. It's, but
We play
on the
well against the Chiefs, and we beat
on
them
the
last time we played them.
yeah. So, but on the Dolphins side of things, look, I'm at the point with the Dolphins where they're pretty much that pretty boy team where they look good on paper. They put up great fucking numbers and stats and points and everything against these garbage ass teams, but then we get to the nitty gritty with the good teams, and they just don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that pretty boy offense. It's that pretty boy team where it's like, hey, you give us the Chicago Bears, and we're gonna show you, hey, nobody can touch us scoring wise. But you give us the Ravens, and it's like, oh fuck, who the fuck are we? So I mean that's where I'm at with the Dolphins. I'm not a true believer in the Dolphins. I never will be, I don't think, with Tua as their quarterback. I think Tua is very fucking limited, even though he can put up great numbers. He has great receivers around him. Tua is a very limited quarterback. He just is, to me, he's a very tin man like quarterback in the pocket. He can let it rip, you know, 5 to 10 yards, 15 yards even underneath. But you ask him to pass deep and he ain't shit. I mean, he is not gonna go down when it comes to crunch time and you need him in that 2 minute drill. Tua is your quarterback, you're fucked.
It's not there.
It's just he's not one of those great quarterbacks. So I am completely out on Tua the rest of his career. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's a very a guy who can get quite a few wins under his belt. But when it gets to the playoff crunch time, this dude is never going to deliver, and I truly believe that. So unless you have a great, 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 great defense on the other side for him, the dude is not going to win Super Bowls for you. I'm sorry. It's just it is what it. But I do think Mike McDaniel's has a chance to be one of those great coaches, like kind of like a Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay or whatever. He does have that in him, but you need more from the quarterback position than Tua. I'm sorry, he's just one of those guys he will, after about 4 or 5 years, fizzle out of the league. I truly believe that.
You know, he's showing some signs where I think he'll be able to stick around a little longer than that. But down to your 2 minute conversation, I don't believe that he's the guy that you want at the end of the game. He doesn't have the arm strength. He can't make the hard throws. When the defense is really dialed in like that at the end of the game, he's not the guy that you want. But he is
No,
not the worst quarterback in the AFC East in that position, and we can talk about that later, though.
No, and I'm not saying he's gonna fizzle out of the league completely like after 4 or 5 years. I'm just saying as a starter, Super Bowl winning quarterback, like who you want leading your team, he's gonna fizzle out where teams are gonna be like, okay, this guy is gonna be able to back up my team, or he might be able to or be a bridge quarterback, but he's not gonna be a franchise quarterback
His
after.
ceiling is Alex Smith with the 49ers. He's going to
Right.
need a defense like
Yeah.
that.
It's gonna come quickly after the next couple of years with the Dolphins, where it's gonna be like Mike McDaniels is gonna go to the front office and be like, we can't win with Tua. I can't run my office anymore with Tua. Like we got to get something else.
Hmm. I can see that. Mike McDaniels doesn't seem like that kind of guy, but I think he's going to see enough after a certain amount of time, especially after Tyreek gets over the hill. He's probably going in, year 9, year 10 right now. So he's only got so many years of being the elite receiver that he is. Once you lose a weapon like that, Tua is really going to be exposed. And I think, yeah, that's when we're going to see that change in Miami. Tennessee at Pittsburgh, Thursday night football, a game that came down to the last possession. I kind of thought it would come down to the last possession, and in that case, I did take Pittsburgh. After a great debut, Will Levis, showed signs of inexperience, including a late interception in this game. Pittsburgh is somehow 5-3 with one of the worst healthy offenses I've ever seen. Talk about it.
Look, uh, I picked Tennessee. Obviously, I was going off of Will Levis's last game, his first game as a starter, having the four touchdown career start. I thought he made a lot of great throws in this game, but he missed on some. Obviously, as a rookie, will credit Mike Tomlin's defense, obviously, but I got to backtrack on what I said about Mike Tomlin being under 500 this year, because I think looking at their schedule going forward, this man's going to keep that streak going, and I don't know how. But solidify Mike Tomlin as a Hall of Fame coach right now, bro. This dude is I mean, if this dude got let go from the Steelers, every team in the league should probably be lining up to fire their coach to hire this guy. So that's where I'm at with Mike Tomlin. This dude is truly a fucking goat, and I just don't understand how he gets it done with the little type of shit he gets out of his team, or out the little amount of uh the little amount of flair he has out of his team each year, from whether it's wide receivers, quarterback, or running back. He works with little and he gets a lot out of it. And I've never seen a coach be able to do this shit. So I've been on all in on Mike Tomlin, but I'm just completely like flabbergasted what this dude gets out of his team week to week.
To get what you got last year out of, who was it, Mason Rudolph, or a little bit of Kenny Pickett, maybe 3 different quarterbacks, and then the 2 years of Ben Roethlisberger at the end of his career, and you're still able to compete and be 500, like we've been saying. I can't think of any other coach that's been able to do that. We even see the mighty Bill going 2-7 now with the New England Patriots with
It's
Mac Jones out
crazy,
there. We
bro.
don't struggle with Cam Newton, so it's like you got to credit Tomlin, man. He's not the GOAT, but goddamn, man, if there's any coach I'd want to play for, it's Mike T.
No, I'm not saying necessarily he's a GOAT, but I'm saying if you were to have all the teams fire their coaches right now and try to hire a coach, he'd probably be at the doorstep of about
27.
25 teams.
Yeah, low key. Baltimore, San Fran, and maybe 1 or 2 other teams. Other than that, Tom was in there. From one rookie quarterback in Will Levis to another, CJ Stroud, which we'll get to in just a second here, because this I thought was game of the day. We'll pick it up here. It was 33-30. Houston is up. Tampa's driving. Baker Mayfield's looking like a Drew Brees in his prime on this final drive, finding everybody. Reliable. Didn't have the biggest game, but he did probably make the biggest play for Tampa Bay. Baker hits a strike down the middle. Forced fumble by Houston. There's probably 3-4 Texans around the ball. Mike Evans picks the ball up. Tampa Bay able to capitalize, scores a touchdown. They go up 37-33 with 46 seconds left. From here, I don't know. You want to talk about it? This is your guy, I think. CJ Stroud, man. the
Look,
God.
470 for 5 touchdowns, bro. What else can you say? I'm not going to dive into this any more than I have to. 470 for 5 touchdowns as a rookie. You are cementing yourself as the next up and coming sure thing as a quarterback in this league. So, like I've said all season long, I believe in D'Amico Ryans. I believe in CJ Stroud leading this team to get better and better week to week, year to year. The Texans are going to be a real thing going forward the next few years and years to come, as long as they have this team, coach and quarterback leading this team and the way they're building this team. I truly believe that this will be the best team in the AFC South going forward. And I mean, I don't know. There's not much else to say. I mean, the Bucks we know they started off great. They started off, pretty well this year. And Baker kind of was on the rise with proving people wrong at a certain point this year, but he's getting back he's slowly getting back to his Baker ways. So the more that I'm seeing this, I'm more and more off of Baker Mayfield. I'm more and more off of the Buccaneers. And even though the Falcons laid an egg today against the Vikings, they're probably still the team to beat in that NFC South. So good win for the Texans. Great performance by CJ Stroud. Yeah, that's all I pretty much got. I mean, I'm not a believer in the Bucks, and the NFC South is just so weak, bro. That's probably the weakest division in this league. So I mean,
I
I
hate
don't
the
know.
NFC South.
I don't. What'd you say?
I hate the NFC South, man.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of them anymore. You could, besides the Panthers, the rest of the three teams, you could throw their name in a hat, pick it out, and they're gonna make the playoffs.
No question. Same as last year. CJ Stroud, all-time rookie record. Like you said, there's not a lot to say about it, but there is a lot to say about it. It couldn't have come in a sweeter way. His final numbers, 30 of 42, 475 touchdowns. No picks, again. He did have a fumble, but that fumble was not lost. 46 seconds left, like I said. Leads a big drive to win the game. 2 dimes to Tank Dell, one on the left sideline, one in the end zone. And he's just showing you all the signs that you want to see. It's kind of giving me faith in this rookie class coming in. Maybe if these are what the rookie quarterbacks are going to look like, I can really get invested in the NFL again outside of those first 8 quarterbacks. But I'm glad that this guy is showing that Houston made the right choice at number 2, because I hate to see these quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3 and just be complete busts. So I'm excited to see a young quarterback that's very exciting and proving me wrong, because these Ohio State quarterbacks, you know how I feel about them. I haven't seen one good in my whole lifetime. So the
Yeah,
fact
they're
that he's
usually
going out
not
there and
good.
dominating NFL games as a rookie, he's looking like a top 10 quarterback. I'm very impressed with this team. Now, I don't think they're going to be running away with the AFC South anytime soon. I think Jacksonville does have a lot to say about that. But he is starting his career off better than Trevor Lawrence has. And Trevor Lawrence
No,
was way more hyped coming into the league. So I
and
like what
that's
this
that
team is doing. And I think they are a little further ahead than Jacksonville was at the same time they drafted
right.
Trevor.
And that's what I think what makes it so intriguing is while Jacksonville should be that surefire pick in the AFC South, I do think that the Texans are gonna for the next few years giving them some serious problems. So we're gonna have that kind of 1-2 battle going back and forth. Obviously you got the Colts with AR, but that's gonna be a work in progress going forward. They got to build around him, obviously, as well as the Texans do again around CJ Stroud, but they're so much farther ahead building around CJ than the Colts are around AR. So that's why I say you got Jacksonville and Houston being those 1-2 teams in that division going forward.
Not mad at it. Washington at New England, 20-17 here. I kind of thought that after dealing Chase Young and Montez Sweat, Washington might be tankers. That's kind of yet to be determined. They were up 3 late in this game. And unfortunately, they were playing against Mac Jones. We talked about an AFC quarterback earlier who you don't want at the end of the game. This guy's absolutely atrocious. New England, a couple yards away from field goal range. He forces a pass into Juju Smith-Schuster. Interception ends the game for the Patriots. 2-7. Bill Belichick. I feel bad for you, bro. cutting up his
Yeah,
hoodies again as we speak.
I don't got anything to say about this one. Like the Patriots are a fucking joke at this point, and I think this is going to be a 20-17 for the Commanders over the Patriots. That's not a win you should be proud of. I mean, it's a win in the NFL, so you got to be proud of it. But it's not a win you're gonna be like, God damn, we just beat Bill Belichick and the Patriots. No, you beat probably besides the Bears, probably one of the worst team in the league, probably.
Yeah,
So
it
it,
is.
it's very bad, and yeah, there's not much to comment on this game. It's one of those just it was an NFL game today. That's all it was.
Yeah, that was one poo team. Here's the other one you mentioned. Chicago was on the road at New Orleans. So with that big loss that the Falcons faced to the Vikings, New Orleans I think does take number one seed in the NFC South. But this is probably likely to change week to week. So we'll just monitor that. How'd you feel about this Saints game if you had your eyes on it?
I mean, look, I'm not going to talk a whole lot of shit because obviously the Vikings against the Bears a couple weeks ago only won 19-13. So this Bears team is, while they're very bad and atrocious, they are still feisty in their own ways. But I, I, this is not the same Saints team we've seen with Breeze and Sean Payton. It's a completely different team. It's a completely different organization, completely different feeling around this whole team. So I still don't like them over the Falcons in that division, let alone the Bucks. So I don't put much weight into this game. The Vikings play the Saints next week, so we'll see how that turns out. If the Saints lose to the Vikings on the road with a backup quarterback, yeah, we're gonna have a lot of things to say about the Saints.
No question, man. We talked about the Patriots. We talked about the Bears. Arizona said, "Don't forget about me. We got shut out on the road at Cleveland, 0-27. Deshaun Watson return. How you feel about this one?"
Look, I mean,
I think Tooney had 58 yards. I mean, this was
what do you expect? I mean,
what do
the
you
Cardinals,
honestly? Yeah.
I mean, you probably have a closer game if Dobbs is in there, obviously, because I think he's showing good signs throughout
hmm
the course of the season with them. But I think they're at the point where Kyler's starting to come back, and that's their guy going forward. They're at the point being the record the way where it is before this game was 1-7. I mean, it's not a winning season. It's not going to be a playoff season. So they were just kind of oh whatever, have Dobbs and I don't know. I expected the Browns to come away with a win in this game pretty handily. So there's not much to take away from this. The Cardinals are where they are, and the Browns. This is probably the best win on paper that they're going to have because you never know when Deshaun's going to play. So as great as the defense is, that offense is still pretty putrid.
I agree. Pretty inconsistent on the offensive side. Very worrisome if I'm a Browns fan. Can't really rely on my $500 million quarterback. It's not gonna make me rest easy at night. Los Angeles Rams on the road at Green Bay, 3-20. This was another poopy game. No Stafford, no chance, pretty much. Rams couldn't do anything offensively. Jordan Love actually looked decent. I think he was 20 for 26 or 28 or something like that.
Yeah, but still only one touchdown. I mean, that ain't good.
No, not good. But you got the dub.
This is probably one of their last few wins that they're gonna have. I mean, if I'm the Packers, I'm expecting probably like a 5-12 season at most. This team is very bad. The Rams, they're only as good as their top playmakers are available to them. So while they're tough out, they're still not that great of a team. But the Packers are a very bad team. Let's not get it twisted. They are a very bad team, and um, I'm not putting too much weight into this game for either side because it's two bad teams. They're both not making the playoffs, and they're both going to be in rebuild mode. So it is what it is.
This kind of seems like the theme of the episode, but we have another bad team facing another bad team. The New York Giants were on the road facing the Las Vegas Raiders, and one bad team looked really bad, losing 6-30. That was the Giants. They paid their quarterback in the offseason. They fear he might have torn his ACL. Things just couldn't be any more bleak in Big Blue right now.
And no, the Giants are putrid, bro. I'm not even going to dive into them, but this is what I expected from the Raiders because bringing you fired Josh McDaniels, thankfully, and then you get Antonio Pierce named as the interim head coach. I'm not sure about the interim GM's name or his background or anything, but Antonio Pierce being named interim head coach, he comes in, he fires the OC, which is a solid move because he knows it's putrid. Names Aiden O'Connell as the starting quarterback. Look, you had all week Devontae Adams and everyone else saying, "I'm ready to run through a wall for this guy." This is the type of turnaround you're going to see from this team. It's not going to be massive by anything, and they're probably not going to be a playoff team, but it's going to be a better Raiders team than we've seen through the first 7 weeks. So this is what I expected. We're going to get a more hard-fought Raiders team going forward. Devontae Adams is going to put up more numbers. Same with Josh Jacobs. The defense is going to play more hard. More numbers from Max Crosby. And look, I hope Antonio Pierce earns the right to keep the head coaching position at least for another season. But obviously, that's a long shot. But that's what I'm hoping for.
Coaching means a lot. Don't want to overreact to one game, but it does seem like he made a big difference just with how the guys are speaking about him in the locker room and in interviews and shit like that, and then how they came out to play on the field. So if they keep that up, yeah, he's more than deserving of that spot.
Compared to high school and college, when you get to the NFL, it goes way, way, way more beyond X's and O's. It goes to the point of getting your players to want to play for you and run through a fucking wall for you. If you can do that, your team is set up very well. Fuck the X's and O's. We can all come up with that on the fly. If you're not going to play for me, we're fucked.
Can't argue that. Indianapolis at Carolina, 27-13. Carolina was hanging in there. It was 13-3 late in the second. But a pick six by Bryce Young kind of opened this one up, 20-3 going into halftime. Carolina was marching again late in the third quarter, but Young throws another pick six to Kenny Moore. Second to Kenny Moore, actually. And that's all she wrote for Carolina. Them along with Arizona looking like the two worst teams in the league now. Bryce Young, after looking like he's been getting better after the first month and a half of the season, looking kind of stagnant after that win against Houston last week. A very regressive game, but hopefully he gets back on track next week. Indianapolis, with Gardner Minshew in there, obviously, no AR. They look decent. The offense looked decent. Jonathan Taylor looks good. 27-13. How do we feel about the Colts here?
Yeah, I mean, this is a game they should have won, honestly. I don't expect a lot going forward, obviously, because Gardner Minshew hasn't shown a lot this year. So I'm not holding out a lot of hope for them. I think they're kind of dead in the water, as well as the Panthers are. But the Panthers should have shown a lot more today than what they did, especially after last week's W. I think this team has a lot of work to do surrounding Bryce Young with playmakers, with pass protection. I mean, the defense is, it is what it is at this point. We've been talking, fairly well about them up until this point. But I think the whole team at this point needs a whole reset, and you got to start with surrounding your young play caller with playmakers on both sides of the ball. So I don't hold a lot of weight in this game. It is what it is. It's two fairly bad teams playing against each other, and we both picked the Colts to win as they should have. And this is probably the best Gardner Minshew is going to look all season.
He's up and down. Next week he'll look bad. The week after, we'll see what he looks like. We haven't seen a trifecta yet, I don't think, with the Vikings win, a Packers loss, and a Cowboys loss. But we did have a nice little cherry on top after the Vikings win today. Even though the Packers did get the W, Dallas did lose to Philly. Why don't you talk about it?
I mean, I was watching this game and I was fucking completely nervous until the last whistle was blown because the Cowboys did have a shot to win this game, bro.
They did.
But look, even if they did come out and win this game, they're still not beating the Eagles in the playoffs. They're still not beating the 49ers in the playoffs. This Cowboys team has so many flaws on it, and it starts with Dak Prescott, bro. This dude is not a good he's a good quarterback overall, but he's not a good franchise quarterback. He's not gonna get the job done. He's not gonna win you a ring. It is what it is. Mike McCarthy's not gonna win this team a ring. I think we're gonna see Jerry Jones pass away before we see the Cowboys win another Super Bowl, and that's where I'm at. Even though that sounds harsh, but that's where I'm at.
I know, like I had a thought to respond to you. I didn't even know what I was going to say anymore. That just threw me all the way off. But Dak and Mike, they're for sure two guys that you cannot count on when the game is on the line. Like you said, there was a little bit of fear when Dallas had the ball at the end of the game, but at the
But
end of the day, it's
what did we
Dallas
see?
ball at the end
What
of the
did we
game.
see at the end of the game? What did Dallas do? Two penalties back to
Yep,
back. That
bonehead mistakes
like
got you out of position. Now you have to throw a fucking 80-yard pass. Just ridiculous. Every time you can count on it. If you
because
can do a lot of
they
bets,
were at the 4 or 5 yard line and they were about to score. But
oh,
what
that
was
time, yes.
like, and then you get two fucking boneheaded penalties to end the game, and this is what the Cowboys are. And as
Yes,
long as you have a fan of your team that you do and Skip Bayless, you're fucked. I'm sorry.
oh
I mean,
man, when there's that much hate in the air, you can't be successful. Is that it for you?
that's it for me. And until we recap fucking tonight's game and Monday night's game, I mean, yeah, that's all I have. And making the week 10's picks. I mean, like I predicted early in the season, this is one of the crazier NFL seasons that we're gonna have because this is one of the most what's the word I want to how do I want to describe this? These all 32 teams are so jumbled and close together this season compared to years past. It's not even funny. Like there's no teams running away with this thing. Even though records might say otherwise at the top, there's no team week to week that is immune to losing. Like, and we can say that week to week every year, but it's super true this year. Like every team is so close together in star power, in superstar status, and coaching status. It's just we have a true league this year where it's like, who fucking knows? Who fucking knows? We can make a probably good educated guess at who's going to be the two teams representing, both conferences in the Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, week to week in the regular season, who fucking knows who's going to win and lose?
Yeah, week to week, month to month. First month, we thought it was San Fran easy. Now we're talking about is it Cincinnati, Baltimore, Philly. Who knows where we're going to be in month 3? Is it going to be Kansas City? Are we going to come around on them? Is Buffalo going to pull this game out? I mean, you never know. We're
And
going to
it's
see.
crazy because we are only in the 5th day of November, and there's 2 months left in the regular season. So obviously injuries are still going to happen. Like it's just crazy. Who knows? And that's my biggest thing is injuries play the biggest role in who's going to end up being the team to hoist that Lombardi at the end of the season.
No question. I've seen it firsthand, multiple years. You got anything else before we get out of here?
I'm good to go, bro.
I'm good to go, man. Let's get back to this game. We appreciate y'all. Until next time.